It's noon. It's good to be back in my condo and in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And this is news that you can use from CarEdge for Tuesday, March 5th, with your host, me, Ray, out the door pricing, and, well, that good looking kid, Zach. How are you today, handsome?
Ray out the door price Shefska in the building. Dad, I am fantastic. Happy Tuesday to everyone. Today's show, as is becoming a theme, brought to you by us, damn it, CarEdge.com. My dad and I, we started this company about 4 years ago, have an incredible team behind the scenes. Skip the dealership, buy your next car on CarEdge.com. Let us know what you're interested in, and our team can take it from there. Now, Dad, some of the biggest deals that we're seeing in the market today happen to be over in Stellantis land, and we had huge news this morning from Stellantis, the first of likely many changes over at the one of the big three, Detroit Big Three. Stellantis cutting supplemental workers at Jeep plants in Detroit and Toledo. Stellantis said the unspecified number of cuts followed an operational review. The automaker previously laid off 539 U.S. supplemental workers in January. Dad, I hate to say it, but I think this is the first of a few headlines we should anticipate seeing from Stellantis and potentially even other brands. Remember when the UAW was negotiating with Ford and there was the rumblings that Ford was going to stop producing as many F-150 Lightnings, and the UAW was getting, huffing and puffing about that. And then obviously we saw Ford stop sending shipments of F-150 Lightnings to dealers. Here we have Stellantis on the Jeep side making a decision to cut back production. This couldn't have shocked you, but what did you make of it when you saw it?
Well, it's, they have to make a business decision. And the business decision is our dealers are overstocked with product at the moment. Now, do we continue to build more product and sit on it and wait till we can get our dealers to agree to take it in allocation? And meanwhile, we're financing it at an extra cost to us. Or do we cut back production to a certain degree, lay off some people, and start producing fewer vehicles because there's more than enough waiting to be sold? It seems to me they opened their eyes. They came to the right realization that it's time to cut back. It's unfortunate, but it's time. Like it says under my name, halt. Who goes there? Production. Stop. Okay, it's just that simple. It's you can't continue to overbuild. You can't continue to build when your dealers are actively turning down allocations.
Yeah, that is at its core the issue. Yeah. So the vehicles that are impacted here, the layoffs affect an undisclosed number of supplemental workers at the automaker's Detroit Assembly Complex, Mac, which makes Grand Cherokees. Grand Cherokees are one of the vehicles, Dad, where we saw, for at least some of them, MSRP reductions.
Yes.
New window stickers actually being produced by the automaker, by Jeep for Grand Cherokees, reducing the MSRP for anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000, and as well the Toledo Assembly Complex, which makes Wranglers and Gladiators. Supplemental workers are the Stellantis equivalent of temporary workers, largely used to fill in absences or where plant needs more employees for a short time. So, trying to couch this and, hey, it's not that big of a deal, but it's the second wave of temporary workers, 539 the first time, don't have a disclosed number this time. And it's for vehicles where we've already seen them walk backwards on price. And I will say, Dad, the Wrangler 4xEs, not moving. The Jeep Compass, not moving. The Grand Cherokees, not moving. And so there's huge pressure on Jeep, as well as other automakers out there that are doing these operational reviews to find ways to fix supply demand. One thing you can do on the supply side is produce less. One thing you can do on the demand side is add incentives.
And when you say they're not moving, you're meaning, well, they're not selling. And when I hear you say they're not moving, I'm thinking that the lot attendants don't have any room to move them around, so that every one of these is developing flat spots in their tires, suffering from lot rot, nesting from rodents. It is, if you are a customer for one of these products, you need to thoroughly go over that vehicle before you buy it. Open the driver's door, look at the door jamb, see when the car was produced, get a sense of an idea of how long it's been at that dealer's lot, how long it's probably been sitting in that parking space. open the hood, look for any signs of rodent nesting. It can get ugly. Be sure, many dealers will have specific vehicles for you to demo. Because they only want to put miles on one or two vehicles. So
Sure.
you're going to demo a vehicle, their vehicle, okay? And it'll seem fine. You need to demo the vehicle you're considering buying, because if that's been sitting and it does have flat spots in the tires, you need to know that so you can get them to replace the tires. If there's nesting going on, you need to know that. You need to thoroughly, it seems counterintuitive because it's a brand new car, but you need to thoroughly check out that brand new car. So that's what I hear when you say they're not moving.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear, man. It's kind of crazy to think that you need to be, thinking about a pre-purchase inspection on a new car. But a lot of these Jeeps, for example, are sitting for a long, long time, and ultimately, that's going to create that situation. Let's
Yes.
jump here, Dad, from Robert. Robert, thank you for the
Thank you,
kind
Robert.
contribution. Here we are in Toledo, slinging employees out the door like dirty water dogs and beer at a Detroit Tigers Yankee game in July. Yeah, isn't it crazy, man? Corporations demonstrate this all the time. When things are going great, hunky dory. When things are starting to
Yes.
go poorly, which, to be very clear, things are starting to go poorly over at Jeep. I mean, that the writing was on the wall last year, but now obviously people are paying for it in terms of getting compensated and a way of living.
When we were at Staten Island,
Mhm.
and any dealership on the East Coast like that, in a heavily populated area with small properties, um, they always look inundated.
Mhm.
But hell, it was difficult to even walk between the vehicles,
Yeah.
uh, and
And that was months ago, and it hasn't gotten
yes,
better.
no, and when the weeds are as high as the hood, that this stuff, they haven't been moving the stuff around. It's just been sitting, and it's hard. We looked at some pictures yesterday of dealership lots that were overflowing, where they were using overflow dirt lots. That's not a good look for dealerships. It doesn't bode well when they're sitting in dirt lots like that. You know, rodents hang out everywhere, but I don't know, more so when it's less asphalt than when it's more asphalt.
You're making the point, Dad, that when you see cars in dirt overflow lots, that's a sign of surrender. No more cars. No more cars. Yeah, that's what was really incredible. It's like, you have the visual proof of cars on the actual lot, cars
Yes,
everywhere. No, that's not at a port, folks. That's not the port of Baltimore where these photos came from.
yes.
But then you go all the way, to the beginning here on a dirt lot. To your point, that's a sign of surrender. No more. No more.
Well, that's what we're going to see, and that's why these temporary workers are losing their jobs.
Do you think that we're going to see more supply side constraints put into place? Because let's be very real. This is a representation. What we saw today is a representation of the two functions, the two levers you can pull to control pricing of any commodity, any vehicle, or any good, any vehicle. You have supply, which is the OEM is the one that gets to choose how much of a vehicle is made, and you have demand, how many people
Yes,
are interested in buying. We know the lever that they can pull on the demand side. I mean, we can look at the most recent data. I'll pull it up on the screen. This is Stellantis's incentive spending for the most recent quarter, end of last year. They've boosted incentives 166% to $4,404 per vehicle. So like on that end, that lever, Dad, that the automaker can pull, like they're pulling it, right?
yes.
But now we're starting to see more and more, not just incentives to try and increase demand, but actually literally stifle supply, which you can't blame them because they have too
Well,
many of them. So do you
what,
think we'll
what,
see more of this?
well, you could either stifle supply, or you could pull a little harder on that incentive lever. Okay. $4,400 sounds like a lot of money. That's nothing. When your vehicles are as overpriced as their vehicles are, $8,000, $10,000, that might move the needle. Okay. $4,000 in incentives already proved that's not going to move the needle. So, yeah, you have two levers. You can cut production, but the only reason they're going to cut production is so they can try and hope at some point that they sell enough of these things that their on-hand inventory at dealerships gets to a more manageable level. If so many of their product is sitting around that you have a 200-day supply of Ram pickups or a 180-day supply of Jeeps, and what you really want is 45 to 75 days, well, that's going to take a long time to get those inventory levels back down to where you'd like them to be. They can't afford to cut off production for 3 months. So the real lever they have to push or pull at this point is to increase incentive spends. I read somewhere the other day that Audi is signing up with special programs with Costco to offer $1,500, $2,000, and I think it was $3,000 incentives to Costco members if you got the certificate if you get a certificate from them by a certain date, and that is on top of, and this shocked me, that Audi's incentive spend per vehicle was in excess of $7,000 already. Okay. So that gives you an idea that if Audi can afford $7,000 and then they can add another $1,500, $2,000, or $3,000 on top of that, depending on model, Stellantis can certainly afford more than $4,000 on their products.
I will mention Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. Those are vehicles you can purchase back through CarEdge, and we do have exclusive discounts negotiated with the dealers behind the scenes, plus the big OEM incentives as they continue to roll out. I will say, Dad.
Yes.
I think we've got a great comment here. My local Toyota dealer is discounting most models like there's no tomorrow. No wonder Jeep needs to drop their prices. This is interesting as well. We have a Toyota dealer now on the CarEdge network.
Yes.
And we have anywhere from at MSRP to $2,000 below MSRP on Toyotas that you can purchase through CarEdge. And you've got to wonder a little bit how much merit is in this comment, Dad. Like the import brands. We have many we have Hyundais at invoice price. Like we've got Mazdas well below invoice price. Like you really got to be seeking out that Jeep or that Chrysler Pacifica or that Dodge, Charger, or the Ram 1500 to not just go to one of the import brands that has less inventory but more competitive pricing because the MSRPs aren't as high. This is a great comment.
And actually get a quality vehicle.
Hey.
Or what is thought of to be a higher quality vehicle. You can't, as we know from the research that Justin on our team did, you can't raise your MSRPs over the last 5 years on Jeeps by what was it, 60% or 61%?
61, yeah.
Okay. And then we'll wonder where your buyers went. Your buyers were your buyers because your price was right and it was appealing. And where your buyers went, they went somewhere else that was less expensive. So, yes, Stellantis is an extremely profitable company. Probably most of the profit is based on their European efforts as opposed to their United States efforts, but still one of the most profitable automobile manufacturers in the world. So it's, it's hard for them to hear a moron like me suggest that they're doing things wrong when they're making, I don't know, $20 billion. They're going to go, yeah, what does that short, fat, bald guy know? I don't know a lot. I just have a little bit of common sense that says, you still want to have your product available to who your customer always has been. And when you make it more expensive than what they can afford, you've abandoned your customer base. That to me is not a good business decision. You're finding yourself new customers, and you're also finding out that it's harder to find those new customers, which is why your products are sitting longer than anybody else's.
And no wonder you see like Toyota sales were up, Mazda sales are up.
Yes.
Kia's the only one that we're seeing like a little bit of wavering, but also they've
Yes.
increased their prices 50 some odd percent, just like Stellantis has. So you can't be too surprised. So it is that was a really interesting comment. You have dealers becoming more aggressive for the import brands.
Yes.
Which adds even more pressure to Stellantis to be even more aggressive on what they're offering, because obviously what they've done so far isn't enough. Absolutely isn't enough. Shall we switch gears, Pops?
Okay.
Fleet sales. The auto industry had an incredibly strong February, like incredibly strong. No one anticipated as many vehicles being sold in the industry. However, Dad,
yes,
1 in 5 vehicles sold in February were a fleet vehicle. Fleet sales totaled an estimated 257,000 vehicles sold last month, or 20.6% of the market. When things were getting pretty bad during the inventory shortages, fleet sales were making up less than 10% of vehicles sold. Now fleet sales obviously back over 20%. They previously had been 20% years past. So, fleet sales are really the bastion of light here for the auto industry. If you can't sell cars to consumers, you can find a commercial customer. Evidently, that's what it seems like.
Fleet sales are the buoy of the industry. Okay. Because of fleet sales, you get to say, sales for the month of February were up 6%. But retail sales, okay, were they up 6%? Or was the 6% increase due to the fact that there was a massive increase in the amount of fleet sales compared to February of 2023? Fleet sales are, even though they're counted as retail sales, the profit structure is not the same. Oftentimes it's direct from the manufacturer. So it's not a real reflection of what the actual retail market is. But it does make the numbers look better.
That's exactly what it does. 1 in 5 cars sold are fleet vehicles. So you're going to see all the headlines of how good February was, which the numbers are insane. The numbers for February are insane compared to January, and quite frankly, compared to even last year. And then the moment you scratch in just a little bit deeper, you realize that companies like Ford, companies like Stellantis, companies even like Toyota are being buoyed by the fact that they can sell vehicles directly into fleets, which are not nearly as lucrative and quite frankly are not a reflection of all the challenges that are happening on the consumer side of things, which is why, Dad, I like to look at
side.
Yeah, on the consumer side, the retail side. I like to look at, Cox puts these weekly market updates out. Leading indicators. Leads are down year over year in March on both Auto Trader and Kelley Blue Book, but they're up month over month compared to February on both sites. Unique leads per dealer are down year over year in March for new and used vehicles, but new leads are up for the month compared to February on websites hosted by dealer.com. Unique credit applications per dealer on Dealer Tracker were up 21% year over year last week. So that's a good trend.
Yes.
But you can see there, Dad, at the top of the funnel, things are slowing down a little bit. And I wonder
may I say before we get too deep, unique credit applications per dealer on Dealer Tracker were up 21% year over year last week. What was the approval rate? Applications can be up. Approvals could be down. Because we know that there is credit tightening going on amongst the banks. So you can have more people applying for a loan than you had the same week last year, and you can have less people of those more people actually getting approved, which wouldn't surprise me. So stats like that, when just taken at face value, are so misleading without the rest of the context. What was the approval or decline rate for those applications? That's the important thing. And then the other thing that would be important is, of those who were approved, how many of those actually closed and there are loans? You know, because they might have been approved, and then they got in the finance office and they saw what their payment was going to be, and they said, "Yeah, I could be approved, but I ain't making that payment."
I mean, Dad, one of the things we're seeing with a lot of our CarEdge community members and customers, negative equity. And so that's another factor in that approval rating. So you can
Yes,
apply, lots of people are interested in applying, but then when the bank sees that you owe, I don't know, 10, 15, $20,000, and those numbers are not, I'm not just pulling them out of the air. Those are deals we're helping people with right now back at CarEdge.com. That's another factor that leads to some of those
yes,
denials rather than approvals. So it's a good
yeah,
point. You've leads down, credit apps up, but how many people are actually getting those credit applications approved? And it ties back to again, you can make the numbers look good. Anyone in this
yes,
industry can make the numbers look good, but I think unfortunately the story isn't that positive right now. It really isn't. It's the industry has set itself up. Jeep is a perfect example. Have set itself up with way too much inventory, too high prices, and not enough demand. And even if credit apps are up, people are struggling to get approved.
that to me is the key. You need to see, you need to see what the approval rate is on that, on that increased amount of credit applications. There could be a very high percentage of people who have applied for loans who want to get out of the vehicle that they're in, that maybe they bought 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, and they are possessors of so much negative equity
Yeah.
that even with good credit, a bank isn't going to approve them for the amount of money that they need. So just because apps are up, just because people have a desire, doesn't mean they actually have the ability. There's a difference between desire and ability to actually complete the transaction. And, I confronted that many, many, many times in 43 years, where
Yeah.
people had a desire to get a new car. They just they didn't have the ability to actually pull it off, either because they had so much negative equity, or the payment that they would be looking at was so far out of the realm of reasonableness for them. So this is something that's been going on forever, but it's exacerbated at this particular time because of all the market adjustments that people paid 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. All that's coming back to bite the customer and the industry.
Yeah, because those customers can't get approved. And so you have this potentially virtuous cycle of people getting in and out of cars, virtuous from the industry's perspective,
Yes.
kind of tragic for a lot of people who are credit dependent, but virtuous cycle that's now breaking down because we see it. You saw Justice's comment. I pulled it
Yeah.
up. And if you're not familiar with Justice on our team, we have car coaches and we do consultation calls with people all day long. Okay, like this is what we're seeing. Not to mention the car deals that we're helping on through the CarEdge dealer network. Like $10,000 is normal negative equity on a $20,000-$30,000 car right now, and that breaks the cycle because the loan to value ratio gets out of whack. And then we
Yes.
know all the data that we see from the financial institutions. Although we've had like Joe Lewis from JC Lewis on, and he said actually approvals are getting a bit easier for him. But we know
Yeah.
from all the macro data, the approval rate's going down. It's never been more difficult than right now to get approved for a car loan. And when you bring $10,000 in negative equity to the table, it just gets even harder. And so
Of
it really
course.
is a shame, Dad, that we're seeing this downstream impact of that greed from 2-3 years ago now starting to rear its ugly head in other ways that, quite frankly, we should have been able to see. Everyone should have been actually. Maybe you and I probably called it
Well,
out. You
wait,
probably called
I
it out.
I can assure you I called it because all the years I was in the business, I mean, when people had 60-month loans and 3 years in, 2.5 years into their 60-month loan, they want to trade out of it.
Yeah,
So I saw it on 60-month loans, and then it became 72-month loans, and and then 84-month loans. Well, you can't trade out of a 72-month note or an 84-month note 30 to 36 months in without having substantial amounts of negative equity. And the
yeah.
only way you're trading out of those vehicles, those deals, is by, well, a large percentage of participation from you. I don't know, 10, 15, $20,000 cash down. And most people don't have that for a car loan. So I knew 3 years ago, and I probably mentioned it 3 years ago, that by going to 84-month loans, dealers were doing themselves a disservice, because when those people want to come back to buy a car, you wouldn't be able to sell them one, because they're going to be so upside down between the length of the loan, the 10 to 15 to $20,000 in additional dealer markup. You couldn't trade them out of them.
So let's just come full circle. So you have the lead story for today is the fact that
Yes.
Jeep is laying off more production workers, temporary
Yes.
production workers, supplemental production workers. Second time they did one in January, they've done another now as a result of an operational review. The logical reason why they're doing that is because they have too many vehicles that are too expensive that people can't afford to buy. So now they're restricting supply. Okay, put that over here. On the other end of the spectrum, they're bringing out huge incentives. The dealers are being forced to discount significantly below MSRP, below invoice, the whole 9 yards. And then you have still customers that are interested in purchasing those vehicles now that the price is where they are, but they can't get approved because they come to the table with the negative equity that they carry from when they bought their most recent vehicle 2-3 years. That's not good.
No, of course it's not good. And I,
That
Zach,
can do gridlock, man. That's friction. That's friction that can slow the whole market down for all the people that purchased over the past 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can assure you, sitting here as I am right now, I mentioned that at the time. And I continued to mention it. And probably close to the exact words were, the dealers are screwing themselves. They're happy as can be right now, because they're getting that extra $10,000 in market adjustment. They're putting their customers into 84-month notes. But those very customers are the ones that normally come back every 2.5 to 3 years, go 3.5 years to trade out of what they have to get something new. They're the lifeblood of your dealership, and you have just choked them off because you preferred today's greed over a long-term strategy.
We talk on this channel, Dad, about consolidation of dealer groups. Do you think we'll see a consolidation of OEMs? Because I'm starting to play this out, doing some second order thinking. What if you can't drive down incentive or supply enough to get people to purchase at their prices, and you can't incentivize enough? Could we see consolidation of OEMs as Toyota and Honda and Mazda and Subaru capture even more market share because people look at, well, I could buy this super incentivized Jeep Compass, or I could just go buy the equivalent Mazda, and you know what? I'm just going to choose them. I could see consolidation of automakers in this as well. Especially if you start putting, I'm not going there on this show, let's not go too far down this, but an influx of really economical imported EVs, that would also drive down. You could see it. You could make a case, for some consolidation of brands.
You're seeing, the rumors are that Fisker is going to be overtaken. Joined at the hip with Nissan. That's like putting two losing brands together, but that's a story for another day. But yes, you can see, as the industry continues to move more and more towards EVs, that some of these legacy manufacturers are not going to be able to make it. They're just not. It is cost prohibitive to become an EV manufacturer. It takes way too long for that to become profitable. And so
take out EV. I think with making cars in general is so capital intensive. But I think we even might see with some of the blue chips, Dad. You could see consolidation there, although it's kind of ironic. Stellantis already is a consolidation of OEMs, but we've had dealer partners on here say, "Hey, we sold our Buick dealership. We just didn't see a future with Buick." We saw buyouts with Cadillac last year. I don't know. I'm just saying, I wouldn't be surprised if we not only see dealer consolidation over the next, call it, decade, but we also see brand consolidation and really sunsetting.
We saw brand consolidation from General Motors in the 90s. There was a brand called Oldsmobile. There was a brand called Pontiac. One day we're going to say there was a brand called Buick. Uh, there was a brand called Saturn. There's only so much you can have that can be profitable. So yeah, I think we'll see some brands go away. I think we might see some major OEMs go away or get bought up by someone else. It's just part and parcel of business.
VT, let's help VT out real quick, Pops. VT, I know you got to run to work, but let me pull this up. Thank you for the kind contribution. Ray and
Thank
Zach,
you.
if I read if you're upside down on a car loan, you can go for a lease to dig yourself out. What are your thoughts on this? VT, hopefully you're with us here for another second. Pops, I know you're passionate about this as an option.
Yes, I am, because one of the quickest and easiest ways to get rid of negative equity is to lease. And I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. And I do apologize. I need to hit the sneeze button next time. But you have to have really good credit in order to be able to do it. If you have $5,000 worth of negative equity, you could roll, if you have really good credit, you can roll that $5,000 into your lease. It's going to impact the payment about $30 for every 1,000. So it'll add about $150 a month to your lease. But the beauty is, in 3 years, it's gone. So you can start from zero. You can start at zero on your next vehicle. So that can be a good way of getting rid of negative equity or large amounts of negative equity in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense to me, Dad. From Jeremy. Jeremy, thanks for the kind contribution. Hey, Ray and Zach. My 2021 Ford F-150 XLT lease is running out in May. My 21 Ford F-150 was $55,000 brand new. Similar 2024s are $65,000 to $70,000. I'm paying $550 a month. Dealer says $550 can't be touched now. Should I buy it out? Should I wait? What is your advice? I will say that I will just mention that Ford still has some lingering 23 F-150s out there that dealers. That I got an email from one of our Ford dealer partners. They have a lingering 2022 F-150, new, still titled new.
Yes.
$15,000 off of MSRP is what they're offering. I don't even know if that's enough. I don't even know if that's enough. So I'm just saying, Jeremy, there could be options that are like prior model years that are still new, could be an option. But what is your advice here, Dad?
And if you want to lease again, it wouldn't matter whether you lease a 2023 or 2024. So you might be able to get a cheaper payment on a 2023. I would expect Ford should be sweetening some of their lease programs. So perhaps, when you get closer to when your lease is running out, maybe you'll be able to get closer to your $550 payment. If you can't, then it might make the most sense to just buy out your existing lease. And my suspicion is that you would be buying it out for well below what its true market value would be if you were to sell it.
Well, as used car prices continue to fluctuate, I don't know how true that becomes, but still it's a viable option.
Well, used car depreciation has slowed down to next to nothing.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. We've actually seen wholesale prices start to go back up.
Yes.
Matthew, thank you for the kind contribution. Jeep or Land Rover, same money, nicer junk. That is an interesting take and one I think resonates likely with many in our community. Pops, again, I want to remind everyone, CarEdge.com, that's the company you and I started. Super proud of what we've done back on CarEdge.com. We still have the car search right here. So if you're interested in market insights like our CarEdge target discount algorithm, as well as market day supply, things like that, use the car search. If you have a vehicle you're looking to sell or trade, get cash offers by clicking on sell or trade. The extended warranty, we have our mechanical coverage, so go take a peek there. It's all easy, transparent. You can view the contract, no smoke and mirrors. We got the tools, the services, and of course, everything we have for free, including Deal School, car dealer reviews, the community forum, our guides, our cheat sheets, our strategy card, all of that is under resources up here in the top right. And if we can help you purchase a vehicle, just submit this form. Let us know what vehicle you're interested in. And then our team back at CarEdge.com will try our best to help you.
And if you'd like some fine CarEdge merch, that tab all the way over on the right, just click on shop, and well, shop to your heart's content. I highly recommend it.
Absolutely, Pops. Absolutely. All right, folks. Thank you for spending some of your Tuesday with us. We always appreciate it. Dad, we'll be back tomorrow with more news you can use from CarEdge. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm glad you're back home. It was wonderful spending time with you. And yeah, look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
It was indeed, and I am thrilled to be back home, but I miss you kids already. I love you too, handsome. Have a great rest of your day.
See you guys. See you, Pops.
See you, everybody. See you back here tomorrow.